Beijing has just taken a commanding lead. Chinese scientists have created temperatures 6 times hotter than the core of our actual sun.
Beijing has just taken a commanding lead. Chinese scientists have created temperatures 6 times hotter than the core of our actual sun. In January 2025, China quietly unleashed something that sounds impossible. Something even channels like Kurtkasse, real-life law, would call straight out of a sci-fi film. For over 16 minutes, their experimental advanced superconducting tokamak East held plasma burning at 120 million degrees Celsius. That's 5 times hotter than the sun's core. Here's the unsettling part, most people haven't realized yet. This isn't just another scientific experiment. It's the dawn of a power shift that could rewrite the entire global economy overnight. And the US might be dangerously behind. Imagine a world where China has limitless, almost free energy while everyone else scrambles for scraps. And right about now, there's probably a little voice in your head starting to ask, am I missing something? Could this genuinely change my future? That's exactly why smart viewers hit subscribe, because they trust that voice. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed. You're positioning yourself ahead of the 99% who won't see this coming until it's too late. So keep watching because the answers you're about to hear might just redefine your understanding of the world. Imagine Elon Musk's Mars colonies powered by fusion or Jeff Bezos's vision of clean energy reshaping our world. These aren't fantasies. They are becoming reality as you watch this video. Let's talk about what's at stake. Fusion energy isn't just a cool idea. It's a game-changer worth over $10 trillion, according to a 2025 Goldman Sachs report. That's not a random guess. It's based on the global energy demand, which the International Energy Agency predicts will surge by 50% by 2050. Right now, we rely on fossil fuels like oil and coal for most of our power, but they are running out. The U.S. Energy Information Administration says proven oil reserves might last only another 50 years at current consumption rates. Coal's dirtier burning. It pumps out 40% of global carbon emissions, per the IEA. Renewables like solar and wind are growing, but they are not enough. Solar panels don't work at night and wind turbines need the right weather. Fusion, though, it's constant, compact, and could power a city the size of New York with a reactor smaller than a football field. China's East reactor just showed the world they're closer to cracking this than anyone thought. Back in 2021, they managed 101 seconds at 120 million degrees. Now they've held it for 1,000 seconds, almost 17 minutes. That's a huge leap toward the stability needed to make fusion practical. Here's how it works. In simple terms, fusion smashes 2 light atoms like hydrogen into a heavier one like helium. That process releases a ton of energy, way more than splitting atoms in nuclear fission, which powers today's nuclear plants. Fission leaves radioactive waste that lasts thousands of years. Fusion's waste is minimal and safe within decades. It's also safer, no risk of meltdowns like Chernobyl or Fukushima. But here's the problem, whoever gets fusion first doesn't just win a science prize. They control the future. If China pulls it off, it could become energy independent, free from relying on Middle Eastern oil or Russian gas. That's a big deal for a country that imported $300 billion worth of oil in 2023, according to China's General Administration of Customs. Energy independence means they can power their factories, cities, and military without worrying about sanctions or trade wars. For the US, it's a national security issue. America spent $400 billion on oil imports in 2023, per the US Department of Energy. If China doesn't need oil anymore, they could shift global trade in their favor, leaving the US at a disadvantage. It's not just about geopolitics. There's a climate angle too. The United Nations says we need to cut emissions by 50% by 2035 to avoid the worst of climate change. Fusion could make that happen, delivering clean energy without a carbon footprint. But there's a catch. If fusion takes off, the $3 trillion fossil fuel industry could collapse. That's millions of jobs in oil, coal, and gas, gone. Countries like Saudi Arabia, which made $326 billion from oil exports in 2023, could face economic chaos. The US, a major oil producer with $200 billion in exports, would feel the hit too. It's a double-edged sword. Fusion could save the planet, but it might also shake the global economy to its core. Let's break down what this means for the world. A new fusion energy could change everything. A single gram of fusion fuel, made from deuterium and tritium, which you can pull from seawater and lithium, produces as much energy as 11 tons of coal with no pollution. McKinsey estimates that by 2040, fusion could cut global energy costs by 30%. That means your electricity bill could drop from $150 a month to $100 or less. Imagine cities powered by pennies, factories running 24/7 without a carbon footprint, and electric cars charging in minutes with no range limits. The financial world is already reacting. After China's announcement, energy stocks took a hit. ExxonMobil, one of the biggest oil companies, saw its shares dip 4% in a single day, losing $15 billion in market value. Meanwhile, renewable energy companies like NextEra Energy jumped 6%, gaining $10 billion, per Bloomberg data from January 2025. Investors are betting on the future, and fusion is the hot ticket. Morgan Stanley's 2025 report calls it a disruptive technology with a $5 trillion market potential by 2040. Hedge funds are shifting billions from oil to clean energy tech, hoping to ride the wave. Now let's talk about the US response and where big names like Elon Musk come in. Musk hasn't invested in fusion directly, but he's been vocal about clean energy for years. On a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast in 2024, Musk said, "You could power the entire United States with 100 miles by 100 miles of solar. That's a square of solar panels in the desert about the size of a small county, generating enough electricity for all 330 million Americans." The US used 4 trillion watt-hours of electricity in 2023, per the US Energy Information Administration. Solar panels in a sunny spot like Nevada can produce about 5 watt-hours per square meter per day, according to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. Do the math. 100 m by 100 m is 25,900 square kilometers or 25.9 billion square meters. That's 129.5 billion watt-hours per day, way more than the US needs. Musk's point? We don't even need fusion to go clean, we just need to scale what we already have. But here's why Musk is paying attention to China's fusion breakthrough anyway. Fusion isn't just about Earth, it's about space. Musk's company SpaceX is all about colonizing Mars, and fusion could make that dream real. A fusion-powered rocket could cut the trip to Mars from 6 months to 3 because it's so much more efficient than chemical rockets. Right now, SpaceX's Starship burns methane and oxygen, producing about 7.5 million pounds of thrust. Fusion could theoretically deliver 10 times that energy density, meaning faster trips and more cargo. Musk hasn't said much about China's East reactor publicly, no tweets. No comment. Several US billionaires, including Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Warren Buffett, are investing heavily in fusion technology to keep pace with China's advancements. Bezos has put $2 billion into Commonwealth fusion systems. Gates's Breakthrough Energy Ventures invested $200 million, and Buffett increased his stake in General Electric by $500 million. China's goal is to achieve 10,000 seconds of sustained fusion by 2027, with commercial fusion potentially arriving by 2035, far ahead of Western efforts. China's progress could revolutionize tech giants like Huawei, with cheap energy giving them a massive edge over US companies. Fusion technology could also transform developing nations by providing reliable electricity to areas currently lacking it. However, if China monopolizes the technology, it could weaponize energy dominance, creating a new form of geopolitical competition. The US is responding with initiatives like the $50 billion American Fusion Act, which aims to boost research through national labs, tax incentives, and public-private partnerships. Despite these efforts, China's centralized approach is proving more effective than the fragmented US strategy. The urgency is being compared to the Sputnik moment of the 1950s, sparking a race to achieve fusion power dominance. The US is responding to China's fusion advancements with the $50 billion American Fusion Act, which has 75% approval and may pass by mid-2025. This budget is double NASA's annual budget, aimed at boosting research through national labs, startups, and private partnerships. Private companies are heavily investing, with Commonwealth Fusion Systems raising $1.8 billion, Helium Energy securing $500 million, and TAE Technologies attracting $280 million. Venture capital firms like Sequoia Capital and Andreessen Horowitz invested $1 billion in fusion tech in 2025. The US fusion workforce has grown by 20% since January 2025. However, America's fragmented approach, averaging $600 million annually across many projects, pales in comparison to China's $1 billion yearly investment in its East reactor since 2015. China's centralized, focused strategy has given it a significant head start. NASA and private companies are also exploring fusion for space travel, with Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket being prepared for fusion experiments. A fusion-powered spacecraft could reach Mars in 3 months instead of 6, potentially allowing the US to regain technological leadership.